And a good day. Welcome. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. As always, we thank the great show team, Jack, Mike, Tom, Rich, Jeff, Matt, Michael on the call today, helping out, and just so many others behind the scenes. I'm Jerry Escher with Debbie Georgianni and you, thanks to our affiliates. And I just want to start things off today the right way, and that is by, I'm not going to sing, but I'm going to wish Debbie Georgianni a happy birthday.
Aw, thank you. You're not going to sing to me?
Oh, not a chance. But that giant clicking sound you would hear would be radios turning off all over the country and around the world.
Well, I accept that happy birthday. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday, yeah.
Thank
Please,
you.
dear friends, join me in praying and wishing Debbie a happy birthday today. And in what? No, yesterday was your anniversary.
The 7th.
The 7th.
The 7th. So 2 days.
Yeah,
2
it's
days
like
ago.
almost like an octave of
That's
great
right.
feast days for you and Marty. And
It's a celebratory month.
yeah, praise
November.
God.
I love it. But yeah, being at the radio conference is just exciting, and to have it, it's second year it's been on my birthday. I think they plan it on purpose that way. What do you think?
I think so, yeah, so that Debbie can have the largest birthday party ever. You should see the
That's
size of the cake. It fills up half of the convention hall here.
That's true. No.
Yeah, here we are. We are live at the annual Catholic Radio Conference sponsored by EWTN, and always a great experience to be here. And today I think we've got a rather eye-opening and illuminating topic, and I can't wait to hear what our listeners have to share about today's topic.
We're talking today about do you feel safe in your house of worship? If you go to church, if you are at a meeting hall where you have your Sunday service, or if you're Catholic, your Catholic Mass, do you feel safe in your church? You know, when you walk through those doors, do you have that sense of security? Do you have that sense that everything is okay here? I've got an hour or 2 hours just to relax and be with our Lord. Or because of what's happened around the world, actually, with all these terrorist and extremist attacks, now our places of worship, Jerry, it's kind of become fair targets. And that's really very tragic, especially for our children, because think about it, Jerry, when you bring your families to church, it's supposed to be a very, very comforting time. Now you've got that little twinge in the back of your head going, can something happen while I'm sitting in the pews with my whole entire family?
Yeah, is that something that you think about, or is it just completely off your radar? 1-800-585-9396. 1-800-585-9396. We don't need to remind anybody of what's happened recently in Texas and a couple of years ago in South Carolina. And really, as Debbie said, around the world, we've seen in different countries, some African countries, where church Catholics are gathered for worship and other Christians, and there are attacks on the churches and so forth. Is it reactionary? Are we presenting a topic today that we shouldn't even be concerned about at all, or should there be at least discussion about this? I think that's what we want to hear.
I think it's a worthy discussion.
I do
Jerry.
too.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it. My children are grown, but I think of Rich Jesse, our producer. He's got a brand new baby girl, and he's walking into his church with his wife and his new little baby girl, and he wants to feel safe. Why should he have to be constantly looking behind him thinking, can somebody come in? The doors, anybody know, sometimes it's posted, Jerry, when the services are right on the street. So anybody knows what's happening, and people, they file in to church, they come out, it's very chaotic sometimes. So in my opinion, it could be very easy for somebody to make it a target. And why wouldn't we have this discussion? I think it's kind of a good approach just to be conservative about it.
1-800-585-9396. Of course, you can text the letters EWTN to 55000 and post your comment. Just give your first name and your comment or your question via text. And we're also on Facebook Live and YouTube as well. So please post your comments there. This really gets into a lot of areas that we're not necessarily going to dive into today, in terms of, guns and weapons and the church's teachings on all of this stuff. And, obviously the Catholic Church, Debbie, would always want to err on the side of giving the benefit of the doubt to having, not like bringing armed security in. Yeah, not going to that extreme. But I've actually thought in my mind, I've asked myself this question for a number of years.
Yeah.
Should we have, for example, unidentified, maybe armed people in our parishes? Like
Off-duty policeman?
Yeah, I can't tell you the last time I boarded an airplane and looked around and said, I wonder which one of these people is
an air marshal
the air marshal
right.
who's got a weapon.
Right.
I don't even think about it, and I don't think we would think about that in our churches either.
Right.
But, is that something we should consider? I'll guarantee you, most priests, most bishops, most of us would say, no, we don't want to go down that path.
Yeah.
And I totally understand that. But what is it going to take? I guess that's a question. What
Right.
kind of an event or incident is it going to take before maybe that's considered? I don't know. This is a conversation we again, as Debbie said, felt was worthy of having.
Well, look at our phone lines, ready lighting up. So you have a lot to say about this. This is your show. This is where you call up and you just share with us what's on your mind and your heart about this topic. Do you feel safe in your place of worship? That's what we're talking about today. 1-800-585-9396. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we're live in Birmingham, Alabama at the 18th Annual EWTN Catholic Radio Conference on my birthday. Did I tell you that? Oh, we did. Okay, we'll be right back.
Hello, this is Father John Paul Mary.
This is Debbie Georgiani, co-host of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
My friends, this is Bishop Kevin Vann of the Diocese of Orange. I want to thank you very much for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
I'm Jeanette DeMello, Editor-in-Chief of the National Catholic Register and co-host of Register Radio with Matthew Bunson. Join us every week as we talk with the Register's expert writers and editors about the news you need to know and offer authentic Catholic insights on the important stories that impact your life. Register Radio, every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern and Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, here on EWTN Global Catholic Radio.
Listen to EWTN Radio day or night. Audio on demand brings you your favorite EWTN programs, prayers, and devotionals instantly to you for free. Visit EWTNapps.com and get started today.
The Reason for Our Hope with Father Larry Richards.
So this is the last thing that Paul writes to his son Timothy. And now what happens when the Holy Spirit comes upon somebody, which is the key about what it is to be a man, is a man who's someone who's surrendered to the Spirit of God. And so here he comes. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 6 and 7. For this reason, I remind you to stir into flame the gift of God bestowed upon you when my hands were laid upon you. And so this is the gift of the Holy Spirit. So this is what the Spirit makes us, gentlemen. The Spirit that God has given us is no cowardly spirit, but one that makes us strong, loving, and wise. So what it is to be a man that's filled with the Spirit of God is a man who's strong, not a wimp, who's loving, gives away his life, and is wise. And the one who gives us the greatest example of that is who? Jesus, of course.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. Today's conversation, do you feel safe in your house of worship? Again, we do not want to panic. Dear God, and God knows we don't want to panic with the things that are going on, and there's all kinds of dynamics that surround these church shootings and so forth, and we don't want to overreact. We're just simply having an open and honest discussion with you. Do you feel safe when you go to church? Is it even in the back of your mind that something like that could happen? What about taking measures perhaps to protect against that? Security at churches, things like that. Do you have any kind of things like that in place where you worship in your parish or wherever that might be? 1-800-585-9396.
Okay, so first step is Steve in Midland, Texas. Steve, you've been waiting so patiently. My goodness, you came in so quickly. Way to go, Steve. Welcome. What's your thought on this?
Well, actually, originally when I heard today's topic, I thought the question was, do you feel safe in your parish? And then I realized, that can't be it. So the screener said, no, it's do you feel safe in your parish? I said, okay. Well, interestingly enough, I won't say what city, but I'm sacramentally connected to the Roman Rite, but I fellowship at a Maronite Catholic church.
Okay.
And of course, Maronites are from the Middle East. They're from Lebanon for the most part, and so there's an issue there. and I mean, I don't even have to say what the issue is. It's pretty obvious. But, look, as Christians, we have the right, nay, the responsibility to self-defense. Now, I don't know where it is in the Catechism. I think the Catechism addresses the issue of self-defense. Certainly, St. Thomas Aquinas, I believe it's his just war theory that to some extent addresses the issue. But, yeah, no, I think that it would be prudent to have some type of a monitoring system, whether it would be the counterpart to an air marshal. Maybe we need a church marshal, and just keep it very low key. And I think it would be reasonable to do something like that.
Well, no argument from me, Steve, because I will tell you, you go to any type of public event, you go to a concert, anything, you go to a sporting event, you have security there. There's security in place. You go to a hotel, there's security there. So you have, and sometimes it frustrates me a little bit because I've often just thought just from a very conservative approach, we should have some sense of security on our parish campuses because we have schools there sometimes. We have all sorts of other events happening. And to me, it just seems like it's kind of this open place where it can be easily accessed. And I mean, that to me is unsettling. So I agree with you, Steve. What do you think, Jerry?
Well, yeah, I think there's room for definitely to feel the way that Steve does, and I would not disagree with it either. I think, obviously the argument can be made if there is any sense at all that maybe there are armed people in churches, then some people say, well, the presence of guns just kind of begets more violence, or the potential for more violence. So I can understand that approach too. Let me just share something about my own parish in Southern California. My pastor had to bring in unarmed security in uniforms because the vagrants were coming. It's a wealthy parish.
Okay.
And the homeless and vagrants were coming, and they would actually, as people were trying to get in their cars after Mass and so forth, they would stand in the doorway of their car and not move until and they were really getting aggressive and physical. And so my pastor had no choice but to do that. See, so I guess the whole gist of this program is there going to come a time, or are we going to get to a point where this is going to be not only warranted, but I think necessary? So, Steve, anything else? Go ahead, Deb.
No, I was just going to ask you something, though, Jerry. So your pastor instituted that. Did it change the feeling of the services that were happening?
No, it didn't change the services at all.
Okay, so
I think the people appreciated it because they were being, I don't want to say roughed up, but they were being physically almost accosted by these people who said, I'm not going to let you in your car until you give me some money. And, a pastor has a responsibility at some point to his flock, his family, to his children. Right. Steve, are we making any sense, Steve?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like I mentioned, I feel that as Christians, we have a responsibility to self-defense. And just one comment on Debbie's talking about being conservative. In my humble opinion, all Catholics should be conservative.
Good point, Steve. Yeah, in terms of conserving tradition and our faith and our values and virtues and all of that. Steve, thank you so much for getting us started with our phone calls today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
But see, your example of your parish is what I'm talking about, this open access to the campus. And like you just said, those people, they wanted something from your community. And it was your pastor's responsibility to protect his family. I think that makes sense to me. I would say kudos to your pastor. That's awesome.
Well, let's see what others of you have to say. Appreciate all of you who are on the line. We'll get to each and every one of you. Melody is in San Antonio, yet another Guadalupe radio listener. Hi, Melody. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, Jerry. Hi, Debbie. And happy birthday. May God bless and keep you today and always.
Thank you, Melody.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So I guess my comment to what's been going on, especially, living very close to what just happened this past weekend, and having a friend who they had to talk to her daughter about it because one of her friends was one of the victims. I think we as a community need to stick together. We need to definitely not waver in our faith, because I know that's being attacked. There's a lot of people, and I guess you could call them trolls on the internet, who are saying, where was God when that shooter, came into the church? But it's like, no, he's always there, and if that's where we're supposed to go out serving our Lord, then, that's in his plan for us. But I do think, definitely if there would be some security, if it comes down to it, I think that definitely would be something that we need. But I definitely think people need to keep up the faith and not worry so much, and just remember why you're in church and why you're going, and not to be afraid to continue to go.
Right. Well, that's the last thing we want to do. We certainly don't want to be entering into our churches feeling that fear. That's the last thing we want to do. And I agree with you. But what you said, I just want to tap into, Melody, because we can do things in a very simple way. Because I was a liturgy coordinator for many years, and just having your ushers and your greeters standing at the doors will give a presence that there is security there. There's things you can do that make it to where somebody coming from the outside, not knowing your parish kind of layout, would go, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. I've got all these guys standing at every door. You know what I'm trying to say? There's simple things, simple techniques you can do, I think, to put those practical elements in place to make people feel more secure.
Yeah, you don't need to create an environment like you see at some, foreign international airports,
Right.
People walking around with semi-automatic rifles and all of that. That's not the point. And I agree with you, and it was suggested by somebody here, Debbie, before the show, that the Knights of Columbus or other groups would be perfect for this. Again, not a show of force, but just a presence, a presence that kind of lets people know, hey, we got to, not at my parish that I'm registered in, but another one that I go to sometimes, the Knights of Columbus, what they'll do during communion is they will go up and they will position knights at the different communion stations just to make sure people are consuming the host and the precious blood, and not taking it and leaving the church with it or doing anything they shouldn't do with it. I think that's perfectly appropriate, and something similar here might be what we're talking about. What do you think, Melody? You still there, Melody?
Uh-oh. Where'd Melody go?
Well, looks like we
we wowed her so much. She just
I definitely agree. I'm sorry about that.
Oh.
No, I agree as well.
Oh, good.
Did you have anything else you wanted to contribute, Melody?
No, that was it. Just God bless our country.
Yes. And thank you for wishing Debbie a happy birthday today, folks. It's Debbie's. She's 50 again today. 1-800-585-9396.
For the 10th time. No. Yeah. I just have to tell you something. I think I sunk to the lowest of lows of friendship circles. Do you know what my very first text message was today? From my dentist wishing me a happy birthday. I thought, okay, something's not right about this.
Either that or you give him a lot of money. I don't know. Dawn is next in Buffalo, New York, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Dawn. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi, folks. Good talking to you again. I'm the one who had that, getting used to that modern technology. I don't know if you remember that a while back, but in any case, I did want to wish you a very happy birthday, Debbie.
Thank you so very much. So what's your take on this?
Well, when I was talking to the screener, I said, well, I do live in a small parish. I'm about 50 miles south of Buffalo, and I said, well, I shouldn't have any problem in my parish, but yeah, you think around, the bigger cities, whatever else was going on, but then you think, geez, could it ever happen to a small community like where I am at? I don't know if I should mention the name, maybe whatever, but yeah, it's just kind of a scary situation, it's just, when they come to churches, it's bad enough when you hear about in Las Vegas and whatever else there, and then these crazy people coming in there and doing that, and feel bad for those 8 people, especially, in one family. But it's just ironic when Melanie was on, and I said, oh, geez, that's ironic, because my niece and family lived down there in San Antonio, and she, I don't know if it was her or her mother-in-law was, really more on alert and wondering what's going on, if it's even safe to get outside anymore. But when I was talking to my brother about it here, or of course her father, and I said, no, you can't really be that way. When you talk to Laura again, or when I maybe reach her again, you just can't be that way either. So, but it's just crazy how it's gone.
Mm-hmm. But Don, what Jerry said something earlier at the beginning of the show. I mean, what's it going to take for us to kind of really sit up and say, wait a minute, we got to have across the board kind of practice that is makes us all feel a little bit more secure. I mean, what's it going to take? We've had now, Jeff Burson, our social media expert, just shared, several other instances that happened around the world. I mean, is it going to take something that multiple churches at one time are attacked? I mean, what's it going to take for people to say, you know what, maybe we should rethink how we structure our campuses? I'm clueless about that, Jerry. I'm interested to know what is it going to do?
Well, I think it's a real catch-22 for us, as especially as Catholic Christians, because we want to preach peace and we want to not bear arms. We want to not have violence. We want to turn the other cheek, and all of these things, and we really should do those things. And be probably the last ones to take drastic measures. And we're not talking about drastic measures here. I think it gets back to what we said before.
Practical.
Just a heightened awareness. That's all.
I like that.
And I think as pastors, our priests are probably aware of this. They probably think about it. But, how far do you go? Again, you don't want to create an environment of fear and be reactionary and all of that. So, Don, it's great to know that you, live in an area and you attend a parish where you feel like everything is very safe and secure, and we hope that certainly is and remains the case.
Yeah. Thanks, Don. Well, we appreciate your take on this.
Okay, well, you're welcome. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Absolutely.
Anytime, call anytime.
Thank you so very much. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Celebrate my birthday for me, will you, Don?
I certainly will, and God bless you folks and your ministry. I really enjoy your programming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you so much. Okay, Matt in New Mexico, listening on Sirius XM 130. Matt, you're up next. What is your take on this topic today?
Good afternoon and happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Matt.
Now, I was just reflecting on how in the earlier ages of the church, how they used to be in fear to just show up to Mass because they would get arrested and hauled off to prison or they would be killed for their faith in Jesus in them earlier ages like that. So I was reflecting on that. And then do you remember when the Satanists had a black Mass in Oklahoma?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Well, at our parish on that same day that happened, some kind of satanic group must have been at play, and they went and put black feathers all around our church. Which is a really eerie thing,
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, that the attacks could be physical and they could be demonic too.
Well, very much so, Matt. And thank you for reminding us, that Christianity has been persecuted since the very beginning. I think there is a difference here that I would offer as a suggestion, and at least one significant difference. And what Matt is talking about is more like an institutionalized, government-led, or whoever the leaders were, persecution,
right.
Kind of a state-led persecution. We don't really have that right now. I mean, we have the freedom of religion, we have freedom of worship. So those who are perpetrating these attacks are different,
extremists,
lone wolves or extremists or terrorist groups, whatever you might want to call them. So you're not really expecting that. I mean, and again, not that the early persecution and all of that was a good thing, or but it was understood, like Matt said, that you already knew the risk that you were taking when you were going to worship. Now you don't expect that.
Right.
You're in fact you're expecting completely the opposite. So I don't know.
That's a good point, Matt. What Jerry has to say. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm with that, and it is kind of frightening because you don't really know what could happen. Somebody could just come in and just lay waste to the congregation, and it leaves people. I think it's probably more of a tactic from Satan to try to just flush people out of the church and use that as his tool to do it.
Well, but Matt, you're exactly the reason why we did this show today, because it's so true. I believe what you said, Jerry, about this shock thing, where you don't expect it and it happens and it just disrupts the whole community, and now people are afraid, maybe sitting in the pews. Maybe that's why we need to have a proactive approach, Jerry, and do this, in a smart way, and just kind of, with this show like this, educate maybe pastors and stuff to just say, hey, have that presence. At least there's that one doorway, that one, how do you say it? That guard, not a guard, but like it's kind of like a block, so that somebody can't just come in and shock the whole entire community. I mean, at least if you had that right there as just a safeguard, I think it would be a beneficial thing to do. I'm pretty passionate about it, Matt. I have to tell you, I think all parishes should have some form of security. It doesn't have to be, overtly.
Doesn't even have to be visible.
It doesn't have to be visible, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of parishes have.
We have cameras.
Even hospitality ministries and so forth. And that's all we're talking about here. We're just asking the question, should there be a conscious awareness of some of the horrible things that have gone on, and just an interest and a proactive approach to kind of making sure that our flocks are safe. Do you feel safe in your house of worship? That's our question today. Your takes, run the program as always at 1-800-585-9396. Thanks, Matt.
Third Millennium Media presents Debbie Georgianni.
The world tells us not to be merciful, and we as Catholic Christians are called to take a step back and look at it in a different way. We must practice mercy, especially if we want to receive mercy.
Debbie Georgianni, co-host of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, wants to visit your parish retreat or conference. Invite Debbie Georgianni today online at thirdmillenniummedia.com.
Here's Peggy Normandin chatting with Catholics.
I'm walking into Our Lady Queen of Angels choir practice. I'm going to ask some of the choir members to share with me their favorite Marian hymn.
I'm going to be completely pedestrian here and just say I'm going to go with a hymn that everybody knows. It was the very first song I remember singing as a child in church, and that's Hail Holy Queen Enthroned. And I cannot sing it ever without choking up, and it's just overwhelming. It defines me as a Catholic.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody is coming up with the pedestrian selections.
Well, all 5 of my daughters are named Mary in some way. So Mary's very large in our house.
Yeah.
And I think we need to remember how powerful she is in her wonderful motherly and womanly way. She's a great icon for women.
She is our symbol for feminism, right?
Absolutely, yeah, she rocks.
Call Me Catholic with Peggy Normandin, Saturdays at 1 and 11 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
Once you lose faith, if somebody does something to you and hurts you 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, St. Peter thought 7 was a good number. How often should I forgive my brother, Lord? 7 times? My Lord said, no. 70 times, 7 times a day.
For more information on Mother Angelica, visit Religious Catalog at EWTNRC.com.
Your show, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. This is where you drive the show, but with your takes, your participation, your calls at 1-800-585-9396. We're talking today about, do you feel safe in your place of worship? In that beautiful house of worship that you go to on Sundays, or maybe even during the week, daily mass, if you go to Bible studies, if you go to RE classes, you go to this beautiful parish community. Do you feel safe? That's what we're asking today. Some of our listeners are saying, Jerry, we probably shouldn't even be having this conversation because it's not, we don't have to defend ourselves or whatever. I mean, what do we say to that?
Well, I would just simply say we need to look at the church as what it is. It's a family, okay? A pastor of a parish, there's a reason we call him Father, because we are his spiritual children. And we were talking off the air during the break, and I just mentioned, let's take as an example a husband and a father in a household, mm-hmm. in a domestic church, in a home. Say the man or the wife, either one of them, wants to have a weapon in the event that something were to happen. Right. If there was an intruder, a home invasion,
okay.
Whatever. All right. Where do they keep the weapon? Is it loaded on the kitchen counter?
No, it's usually locked and put away in a
locked,
case.
unloaded, put away in a closet. Nobody sees it. Nobody ever thinks about it. See, it's this almost invisible precaution against something possibly happening, and that is what I'm saying. What father would not? A father would be completely irresponsible, and I think very negligent if he did not protect his family, his wife and his kids, in the event that something was perpetrated against them. It's not an offensive thing. It's just simply a precaution against something possibly happening. And good Lord willing, in the majority of cases, you never ever even have to take that gun out except to polish it.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I don't own a gun, so I can't speak to that. But the whole issue of self-defense is completely within Catholic social teaching.
Okay. Well, and do you think that's why we have a lot of parish communities now that have multiple cameras set up? I mean, all of a sudden now, I remember 20 years ago we never had cameras. Now there's cameras everywhere. There's cameras down the hallways. There's cameras right in the sanctuary area, in the vestibule area. So that's to protect the family.
That's actually a very good example of what we're talking about today. It's simply observing what's going on. It's being aware. It's being vigilant. It's not being hypersensitive. It's not being overcautious or reactionary. It's just simply realizing the times that we live in.
Right.
And so that's
like
why
that.
we're having this conversation. We got a whole lot more people who want to share on this topic.
We do. So, Dennis, you've been waiting so patiently in Niagara Falls, listening on the EWTN app. Hi, Dennis. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
How are you? It's so nice to speak with you both.
Likewise, Dennis. Appreciate your patience and thanks for joining us.
Happy birthday to your end of the radio line.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you so much. So what you've been waiting
now,
so
long. I hope you both had a chance to see Niagara Falls.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, Dennis, the last time when we went to the Station of the Cross for the pledge drive, Jim and Joanne Wright took us to Niagara Falls. And Jerry, do you remember that day? It was so windy. They wanted to take pictures, and my hair was blowing all over the place. It was
the poor thing. Don't you feel sorry for her?
Yes, it was an amazing experience, Dennis. I can't wait to take my husband back to see Niagara Falls. So, what's your take on this?
Well, I said when I first called, I feel this is a pretty safe city. I mean, we're right on the border, which means we not only have our city police, we have the state police here because they monitor the interstate. We've got border patrols because we're right across from Canada. And so, in that way, I feel pretty safe. Although, there was one time when we had, it was Mass, and a fellow came in the back of the church, and the other ushers kind of picked up on this. They were watching, and they went to talk to the guy. He didn't really sit down in the pews in the back, but they talked to him, and they found out that he was Muslim. But it really wasn't any particular incidents. We kind of thought maybe he came because he was interested in seeing what a Mass was. But they talked to him, and then they just asked if he wanted to stay, and he said no when he left. But that was sort of one little incident. But you never know how things change because, there's different people have different views on church and on religion and different views on the Catholic Church. And hopefully it's going to stay safe here, but we might be having a little change take place because tonight there's a meeting, it's a public hearing of the school board. And the school board is talking about how they want to change sex education. And I'm sad to say they want to really push up the whole thing with Planned Parenthood. So hopefully when people go to this meeting tonight, they'll be reserved and calm and thinking about what they say, and there'll be more light than heat, hopefully. But, this is kind of an important thing because there's a lot of people that want to, not be true with our kids.
Dennis, do you think that this topic that we have today, do you think it's a good discussion to be having, that we have to face facts of what's going on in the world? Don't you kind of feel like the more we talk about it, then we kind of bring to light some of the issues and we all can have a better understanding of things?
Well, I think that's true. It's a useful issue. Like the last person said, and you mentioned, if there's cameras in the church, that's certainly better than not having any. And anybody that wants to be sort of brought in some kind of participatory role to do more watching, like the ushers, or you said about KSC, and all those things go to making people more alert, more aware. And right. As we learned way back on 9/11, sometimes these things are just a surprise. You wake up the next morning and find out things are more terrible than we ever realized.
That's true.
But yeah, we have to pray that we are diligent, that the Holy Spirit watches over us, that our guardian angels help to take care of us, and we have to do our part as citizens as well as Christians.
Yeah, I'm reminded, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, Dennis and Debbie and others, but it reminds me of, I think St. Thomas Aquinas used to say all the time, grace builds on nature. And what he meant, of course, is that God's grace works most effectively in our lives when we are working on ourselves in terms of virtue and character on the natural level, and God's grace can take that and build that up. I think there's an analogy here in the sense that, we want to have that human element. We can't be ignorant of that. We can't just simply go through our lives and say, well, I'm a Christian, I'm baptized, God's going to take care of me, He's going to protect me in all situations. Unfortunately, that just doesn't happen because of the human condition and sin and evil and so forth. So there has to be that human element, and I think that Dennis is making that point here, and I would agree with that.
Yeah. I would agree as well, Dennis. Well, are you going to be attending that meeting tonight, Dennis?
Pardon me?
Are you attending that meeting tonight in your town?
I would like to very much, but I've asked my friends to go, and I am teaching CCD tonight.
Oh.
But in that group, and in my group, I work with younger boys in an outdoor program, North American Explorers. I make a point of doing every opportunity I can to talk not only about religion, but natural moral law, because we have to have people understand natural moral law, the very foundation of social justice.
Absolutely. More power to you, Dennis. And so thank you for being in ministry and helping to really form our youth and our adults. I think that's wonderful. Thank you for all you do.
Appreciate hearing from you, Dennis, at 1-800-585-9396. Take two with Jerry and Debbie. Today we're talking about, do you feel safe in your house of worship? And what, if anything, maybe nothing at all, maybe you feel nothing at all, maybe you feel like we should have some degree of at least heightened vigilance or awareness, security, maybe greeters, ushers at the door, the Knights of Columbus. What do we do on just the human, natural level, not to be, again, overreacting, but just to simply be aware that there are things going on in the world, and maybe a little bit more additional protection is needed today. So we're going to talk next with Jen, who's listening on Catholic Radio Indy in Indianapolis. Jen, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, Jen.
Hi. I was just going to say, there was a guy who mentioned that, the age of martyrs and, the government persecuting and everything. And he was kind of not told off, but they were like, oh, well, there's a difference because it's, it's not like a state-run thing. These are just rogue people going in and shooting up churches. Well, I just want to say I think it's rather telling that this is happening now when our country is basically split one side and the other. Conservative versus liberal, Christian versus, non-practicing, basically. No matter what they are, they might define themselves as Christian, but they never go to church or whatever. I noticed that when I read about the churches that were shot up, the one in Tennessee and the one in Texas, they were more conservative churches, Baptist, very conservative. And I find that very telling about the kind of climate, how the climate has shifted in our country, because that wouldn't have happened, 20 years ago. And I don't think it's so much about safety that we need to worry about, because, that's like Jerry said, that's debatable. There's one side and the other. But I think we just need to be prepared for another age of the martyrs, especially given the victories of liberals, the two recent victories. I think there's governors that were just elected that are supposed to, kind of predict the way things are going to go in 2018 with the Senate and House. Those were both Democrats that were elected, so I think our country is leaning more liberal, more anti-religion, and we just need to be prepared for the day when, this sort of thing is sanctioned by the state, because that day may be coming very soon. And they've already started, not anything that severe, but very similar things in Canada and Illinois. They've passed things where they can take away your child or your foster child if you don't affirm their identity or whatever. You know, there was a guy from Niagara Falls that was, I'm sure he knows about it. And, you know, we need to be ready to die for our faith. And if we're not a target, you know, if you're in one of those parishes that's very liberal, that, you know, has the rainbow flag draped over the altar and, you know, doing things that are very sacrilegious, I think you need to reevaluate where you go to church if they're not preaching the truth and they're not a target.
Well, Jen, let me share a couple. Yeah, I'm so glad that you shared what you did about the martyrdom and the age of martyrs and all of that. And I have been saying this for years and years and years now. I think we are definitely entering into a new age of martyrdom. There's no question about that. And I like to say this. I like to say if we need to be in a state of grace and stay in a state of grace, because we never know whether it's going to be something extreme and severe like this, or whether we're going to be walking across the street and be run over by a delivery truck or something. So it's more important than ever, especially in this day and age. There's so much confusion and division, but we got to kind of peel back all the layers of the onion, Debbie, and get back to the core question, and that is, when you kick God out, who's going to come in? You know, Satan is the prince of darkness. You know, he is really kind of the ruler of this age, if you will, even though Jesus Christ is king and has triumphed and really is the ruler. But Satan is given this period of time, and we see so much of his influence in the country and in the world today. So we have to take that into account right now, whether it's conservative, liberal, you know, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. When you toss God out of the equation, you're going to see things like this. So we really ultimately need a return to the values that this country was founded upon and that Jesus Christ wants us to proclaim and spread throughout the world, and that is the Christian faith.
What do you think, Jen?
I completely agree. I think, and like you said, you know, remain in a state of grace and especially be ready to take up our cross, whatever that cross may be. Some of them might be mundane and illness or whatever, but the evil is spreading. The serious evil is spreading. You know, it's coming. You know, it's not just in some faraway country where thousands of Christians are being martyred every day. You know, somebody mentioned the Maronites, the problems that they're having in their countries, and they're coming over here. I mean, it's progressing. It is getting worse. We are coming towards the end, and who knows when the end will be? You know, Jesus said, you know, nobody knows the day or the hour. But we are also to look and be vigilant and be ready. For anything, and be at peace about it. And I think this conversation needs to be had. You know, you've asked a lot of people whether you know, this is a good conversation to have or whatever. Definitely, we need to be prepared to defend others. And you know, I think everybody should carry, even in mass. I mean, personally, I don't see any problem with being willing to defend your life for others. I don't see why anybody has a problem with that.
Well, Jen, I'm glad you brought that up, because here's the thing. I think we've all kind of agreed that just practical measures being put in place is necessary in this day and age, because we're at that place. I mean, if I went to Disneyland, I would expect heightened security. I would expect that. I wouldn't want to just walk onto any ride knowing that anybody else could be coming in and out of the grounds and everything. Same with our churches. Same with our schools. Same with any place that we gather in a massive way. I think just from a practical standpoint, there needs to be something in place just to have that, you know, safeguard put in. It sounds like you agree with that, Jen. But and you know what, you have a lot of great things to say. We could do a whole show just around your call. Actually,
well, this is really what it gets down. It's being wise as serpents and gentle as doves.
Exactly.
Jesus himself said that. So in a sense, Jesus is saying, you know, use your minds, be aware, be vigilant, be conscious, but be gentle as doves. And I'm reminded too, Debbie, as you were talking, that you can't get onto the EWTN campus without going through a security checkpoint.
That's right.
Now, was that put up there because an incident occurred? No. It was just put up there out of, I think, common sense, realizing, okay, this is our mission at EWTN. There are people who don't like that mission, and there are people who may at some point want to come in and disrupt that mission.
Exactly.
And so it was decided by my mother or whomever to put up a and it's really casual. You just walk in, they just want to see who you are. You know, they don't pull a gun in your face or anything like that.
Right.
So,
and you can even see it. There's a guard on when you look at the daily mass on TV.
Yeah.
You can see that there's a guard standing right at the door. And Jerry, when we did the One Faith conference in St. Louis, and by the way, Teresa Tomeo just walked by. Teresa Tomeo, see, she was one of our speakers. We had heightened security. Why? Because we had a massive group praising God, learning about God. We had all of these wonderful speakers there, right? And we felt the need to make sure people felt safe and secure. Yeah, I think that was a practical approach. Jen, thank you so much. God bless you for your call. You're just a sweetheart. We really, really appreciate it. And we're going to move on now to Elena do we have time?
Oh, yeah.
In Brownsville, Texas. Sirius XM 130. Hi, Elena. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Yes, good morning. I really liked your conversation. Are you able to hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Oh,
yep,
okay.
just fine.
Yes, I was just going to say I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to walk into a church. I'm not afraid to walk into a theater. I am not afraid because now I'm more aware and of my surroundings. I plan my own plan and say, okay, what if somebody comes in here? What am I going to do? Like, I make my own little plan. I try to avoid large crowds. And to me, I feel like I have to be more aware of my surroundings. It did happen to me one time when I went to Walmart. I was passing by and a group of boys were looking at books, and this one guy's gun fell down to the ground, and he kind of slowly picked it up, and I didn't want to panic. And what's this guy carrying a gun in Walmart? So I went to the side. I went as far as I could go from the store, and I went in the front of the cashier and told her about it. And I walked out of the Walmart as quick as I could. But I didn't want to create too much panic. But still, I still feel safe going into my church. Like I said, I'm more aware. And that's all I just wanted to say. And yeah, we need to pray more. I think we need to strengthen the churches more. We need to bring more people and be aware that, evil is here. The devil reigns the earth, but God, Jesus Christ, he reigns the earth and the universe. And that's all I have to say.
Elena, I'm just like you. I do the exact same thing. I walk into a church now, and I'll always spot where the exit doors are, and I'll see how many entrances there are and where people are coming in and going out. And I do the exact same thing, and I think that heightened awareness, I think, is good to have. I think in all cases, anytime we're out there now, unfortunately, we're in a world where at any time we can be attacked. I'm wearing a crucifix. I'm wearing a cross. I could be attacked just because somebody doesn't like the fact that I'm wearing a cross. So yeah, I think Elena, I think that's great that you've adopted that practice.
Yeah, I like your approach, Elena, just saying you simply, personally, individually have a plan. And it's probably not anything elaborate, but you just simply are aware of your surroundings. You're conscious of what's going on around you. And I think we all just need to do that. I think that's maybe the bottom line answer to all of this conversation we're having today is, once again, not to overreact or do anything drastic or radical, but just simply we've got, especially if we have families, kids and families and spouses and so forth, just being aware of where we are, what's going on around us. And so thanks, Elena, for sharing that. We appreciate that. We're going to get to as many of you as we can here. John would be next, listening on Sirius XM 130 in Minnesota. Hi, John. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well, John. Thanks for the call.
Happy birthday, Debbie.
Thank you, John. I was waiting for you to wish me a happy birthday. Thank you.
Yeah, and we just registered for the Stand Tall. We're all set with that. So,
Yay! Awesome.
My wife and I.
Oh, good. We're so glad. You're going to have a great time. You just remind us. We'll have to mention that. Thank you for registering. Can't wait to be with you.
Well, my wife says, well, what's it about? I said, oh, no, let's go. We'll find out.
It'll be life-changing.
There won't be any armed guards there, John, either. So.
Okay, all right. No, I just think, you got to be prepared. I go to church. And I go to church. I mean, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I mean, but be ready. I'm a long haul truck driver. I tell my wife, every day, I love you. You never know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to be prepared. But as far as the little town we live in, I mean, I'm not worried about our church, but you never know.
Right. But John, do you think it's kind of just a practical approach to maybe even have like cameras or ushers at the door, or the Knights of Columbus, or nothing major, nothing that's going to be on the 5 o'clock news, but just something in place just in case, God forbid, there is somebody that enters that is really could do harm to the community?
Oh, I think it's perfectly fine to have somebody watching the doors. They might get enough time to see somebody coming to take action or do something. But yeah, I'm all for that. The ushers or the knights. Yeah.
Right. That's, I think, what we're all saying. And, it's funny, too, because I think with all of the calls, John, and all of us here at the radio conference, we're all kind of nodding our heads going, none of us are in fear. We're not in fear. I mean, we all know the end of the story. We hope that if God forbid we ever are, persecuted for our faith or whatever, we hope we can withstand it and really, die with that beautiful, focus of Christ in front of us. We all know that. So we know that going in as Christians. But I think the discussion that we're trying to have is just to kind of see if we should all have that heightened awareness. So thanks, John. We so appreciate it. And thanks for signing up for Stand Tall. We just can't wait to be with you and your wife.
Thank you, John. Yeah, we appreciate that so much. Go to jerryanddebbie.com. You can find out about the what we hope will be the first of many Stand Tall retreats. Again, the Stand Tall theme is just we want to not stick our chests out and be proud and prideful and all of that, but just help one another, lift one another up, and help us realize who God made us to be.
To refocus.
Yeah, refocus. And we have a lot of us are walking around with some wounds and injuries and scars from things that happen in life, and we just want to have a weekend together where we just build each other up and hopefully leave there and go out into the world and make the world a much, much better place.
Right.
So that's February 9th through the 11th at nearby Coleman, Alabama. Debbie and I are at the Catholic Radio Conference just outside of Birmingham right now, and Coleman is where St. Bernard Abbey is, and so the Benedictines are going to host us there for that weekend.
Yeah, there's security on that campus, though.
Is there?
Yeah, when you said there's not going to be, there is security.
Well, I didn't. I said there won't be. I don't know if there are.
No, I know.
But we're going to go to the shrine of the
Right.
Most Blessed Sacrament where
Yes.
Mother Angelica was laid to rest.
Yes.
So, yeah, get
and
details.
John and his wife is coming, so that's going to be great.
There's a limited number of spaces available, about 90, I
Yeah.
guess, right?
Yeah,
So
we're filling up. So please go to it, jerryanddebbie.com. Check out the agenda, just like John and his wife did, and sign up. Sign up today. We want so many to come together because we're going to become, I think we're going to become very close friends. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think relationships are going to be built, lives are going to be changed, and the world will be made different and better because of those who attend and go out and change their part of the world. So Shannon and Adam and Mary and Roseanne, look, this has been a conversation we have to maybe have again because we are just simply, I wish we had several more hours, but you can hear the music right there. Please, we ask your forgiveness that we can't get to you today, but we are, what do you call it? Slaves to the clock, I guess.
Yes, we are.
Tomorrow we're going to be talking about proclaiming the bad news. All right?
Yes.
We want to preach the good news. But first, for there to be good news, we have to understand what the bad news is, and that's sin. So how do we convince today's world, people in today's world, that sin is real and that we need the good news as the antidote to sin? That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow.
You seem very passionate about that. I'm excited about tomorrow's
Let's
show.
see how it goes.
Okay, so we're expecting you to participate again, just like you did today. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day. We'll see you real soon.